Hello friends, it's Stamp Ventures with Shauna, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. Welcome to my video tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to use your designer paper to make a gift card holder and a money holder. I have been going through my Christmas designer paper just like crazy. You would not believe how much I have gone through to make these items. And so if you've got some designer paper hanging around, and maybe it's not even Christmas when you're watching this video, and you need to get using your paper, these two ways are fantastic ways to use and show off your beautiful papers. And I also found that when I sold these little gift card holders at the vendor fairs I recently attended, they were very popular items. People are looking for things to present a gift card in, because that's, you know, for long distance or just having to get something that maybe for somebody you can't specifically buy for, the gift cards work really, really well. So we'll get started in just a moment, but first of all, I've got my funny to share with you. So this is Life, and it's inside a snow globe, and this is kind of ironic because we've had almost no snow here in Moose Jaw. It's, what are we? We're 6 days away from Christmas, and it looks like it's going to be a brown Christmas. But the one person inside the snow globe house says, dang, that's the 47th snowstorm today. And the other person says, I don't mind the snow. It's those pesky earthquakes I could do without. That one gave me a really good chuckle. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to quickly show you how to do the gift card holder first. So I've got some measurements for you. If you're watching the video and you need to grab the measurements, now's the time to grab a screenshot or jot them down. So this is a 12 by 12 piece of designer paper. I'm not even sure if it's all fitting into the screen, but it's pretty close. There we go. Yeah. And you can get 2 gift card holders out of one 12 by 12 inch sheet. And yeah, so first of all, you want to make the gift card holder 5.5 inches wide. That way it'll fit into our medium-sized envelopes. And so you'd cut there, and then you'd also cut at 11 if you want a second gift card holder. And then you'd score at 4 1/4, 8 1/2, and then you have a choice of either 10 1/2 or 10 1/4. I'll show you the difference. And I mostly used this when I was making mine. So here we go. I will pull out some paper. I've got a half sheet. It's 12 by 6, so I'm going to have to modify this just slightly. I've grabbed this paper, which is called the Winter Meadow paper, on page 37 of our September to December mini catalog. And I use this because this paper is going to be continuing on into January. It's carrying over. So is this beautiful silver edged ribbon and some of these faceted gems too. So that's why I thought, yeah, this is the paper to use today. And it's also not just good for Christmas. It is just wintry and snowy, so that's helpful as well. And I'll grab my paper trimmer. I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/2. Ooh, I almost trimmed at 5 1/4. Guess that would have worked, but it would have been a narrower card than what I want. So now it's, yeah, 5 1/2 by 12, and I prefer to use my Simply Scored tool to do my score lines. So and I like to use the wide tip so that it doesn't press through too hard of my designer paper. So I'm going to score at 4 1/4, 8 1/2. And then you do have a choice if you want to do 10 1/2 or 10 1/4. If you do 10 1/2, you're going to get a little bit of a different colored edge down at the bottom. And if you do 10 1/4, this bottom pocket will be all one color. Would have been all the red with polka dots on it. So you can decide. You can play around, try both and see what you like. I'll do 10 1/4 so you can see what it looks like with the pocket being all one color. Now it's time to get folding. So this top part here, this is the main part. That's the front of my card. There's the back. And then these two sections are my pockets. So I fold up at the 8 1/2 and I fold back at the 10 1/4. And basically this is my pocket. It's double thick, so it's got a little extra body to it. And I'm going to create the pocket using, I'm going to glue my pocket together with the Stampin' Seal, the layers, just because then when I punch through with my circle punch, I don't have to worry about punching through some half glue that's still sort of half liquidy. So I'll just use my Stampin' Seal. Okay. And now I'm going to find the center of my pocket, and I'm going to mark it with a, doesn't matter, a pen or a pencil. I just want to get a general idea of where the center is. So half of 5 1/2 is 2 3/4. So I'll mark that there with my pen. Now, I've got a 2 3/8 punch sitting right here. So I'll use that to make the little dip where you insert the gift card. I'm trying to think how you can play around. I'll make it a little bit deeper. I'm not sure. That's probably about, it's about a 1/2 inch deep is how far I went in with my punch. So there's the pocket. I'm going to glue this down, but before I do that, I've gone ahead and cut a piece of thick white cardstock, that 5 1/4 and 4, and I'm going to glue that in first. I've also cut these two pieces for the front, so I'll get to those in a moment. And I'm going to glue this right centered on the inside of the card. I might want to actually stamp my greeting right now before I glue it down, so that if something goes wrong, I can turn it over. Just thought I'd mention, if you don't recognize the wording that I'm using, this is a retired stamp set, Christmas to Remember. It was in last year's, like, I think it was like the 2022-2023 annual catalog. And I've been using the Love and Joy Come to You and May It Last the Whole Year Through, and the Merry Christmas. I've been using those a lot for these gift cards because they just happen to fit with the measurements that I'm working with. So got some pretty peacock ink here, and I will stamp Merry Christmas towards the top. And while I've got the ink out, I'm going to stamp this piece, which is 3 1/8 by 2 7/8. The Love and Joy Come to You, and May It Last the Whole Year Through. There we go. Now I can close this up. I guess this won't be particularly good for after Christmas. I was saying how the paper can work for winter, not just Christmas. But now that I've stamped it with these words, yeah, it's pretty much going to have to be a Christmas gift card holder. So glue this piece down. I did use thick, just like to give the base of the card even a little bit more thickness or body, because it will be able to actually stand like a regular tent fold card once I'm done. And now I want to glue the flap to create the pocket. So I'm just going to put like the tiniest bit of liquid glue along the edge there. I find the liquid glue is nice and strong. And when it's a pocket, sometimes things are being pulled in and out, and it creates a little bit of stress on the edges where it's adhered. So there we go. I'll give that a moment to dry, and while that's drying, I'll glue this wording, this greeting, onto the die that I've cut. And this is from the Scalloped Contours dies. I think it's the middle-sized one, so it's the third largest rectangle, but it's also the third smallest. So it's kind of right in the middle of the sizes. And I use that one a lot as well. Okay. And I liked to pop this up just to give a little bit of dimension to the front of the project. So I'll grab my dimensionals here. Ooh, we're getting towards the end of this little sheet. Often when I'm holding classes at my house, I take a whole sheet of dimensionals and cut them in half and make sure everyone at the class has access to at least a half sheet. So that usually gets them through the class. And they don't have to be reaching over different parts of the table to try and get a hold of some dimensionals when they need them. All right, so this is going to glued on the front. I guess I do need to take these pieces off. There. And see if we can get this somewhat centered, something like that. And when I was making these for my trade fairs and vendor shows, that's pretty much all I was doing. I wasn't doing a lot of extra decorating. I was just creating the gift card holder with the pretty paper and letting the paper do most of the work. And there's a place right there you can write on the inside. And have I got an extra? Sure I do. I've got an extra gift card here to slip in there. And but you can certainly go for more decorations. So well, I think the one I showed you at the beginning, this was done with some specialty foil paper, which we have sold out of. And you can see if you do the scoring at 10.5 instead of 10 1/4, you get a little strip of pocket that's a different color. But then I did a Facebook video a few weeks ago, and I did a little bit more decorating on my gift card holder, still using that same Winter Meadow paper. But then I used the bow punch and punched out, I think, like 4 vellum boughs, branches. And then there's some of that pretty silver-edged ribbon, and I threw a couple gems on there too. One last one I can show you here. If your paper has a very specific up and down direction, I always made the directional part on the inside because it's always going one way. The outside part, well, if you get it going up this way, then it would be going down and upside down on the back. So yeah. Here's with some more specialty paper from a couple years ago and some copper embossing powder, and yeah, stash tea fits in there as well. So that's the gift card holder. Now I'm going to go on to the money holder or the check holder. I did these because my mom wanted to give money this year, and she didn't like the idea of having to fold her check in half to put it into a holder. So I'm like, sure, I can make one that the full bill or full check will fit in there. So I'm going to show you some more measurements. These ones are a little different. So with this design, you can only get, I should move this around a bit here, you can only get one money holder from a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of designer paper. And so I cut at 8.5, and then I scored the designer paper at 3 3/4, 7.5, and 9 3/4. So I'll show you how that goes together. I've got some more of the winter meadow paper here, this time with, I guess they're berries. And you know what? I was trying to figure out what that color was on the berries. It's Moody Mauve. I've hardly used that color, and so this is getting me using it a little bit. So 8.5 inches. And why did I go with that, those measurements? Well, I've got like one of these regular business size envelopes, and that's what this this holder will fit into. If you're wondering what size my envelope is, I'll just let you know really quickly. It's 9.5 by about 4 1/8, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off at the 8.5 inches. I need to pull my arm out here on the trimmer. 8.5. That can be used for something else, or maybe decorating the envelope. I'm pretty sure you could make, like, you know, you could make a fancy flap with it, or do, you know, a strip down the side. Lots of choices with that. And now I'm going to do my scoring again with my Simply Scored, because I don't like having to move it around all the time. So I'm going to score at 3 3/4, 7.5, and 9 3/4. And if you remembered how I folded for the first project, this is the same thing basically. There's the front of my card and the front and back of the base. And then I'm going to fold up at the 7.5 inch mark. And I'm going to fold back at the 9 3/4 inch mark. And so there is my thick pocket. And I'm going to glue that together. And again, because I don't want to be punching through liquid glue that hasn't quite dried and get it all gumming up my punch, I'll just use Stampin' Seal for this. Maybe get this a little bit closer to the edge down there so it doesn't want to lift. Okay. Now I have some more pieces that we'll be using. I've got, some more measurements here if you want to grab a screenshot of this. Inside of the card, I'm going to be using a piece of thick basic white. That's this measurement, 7.5 by 3 3/8. For the outside for decorating, I'm going to be using, that's 8.5 inches long by 1 inch tall. There's another one of those pieces of scalloped contoured dies, the same, the third largest and third smallest. There's a piece of Moody Mauve, that's 3 1/8 by 1 7/8, and a piece of basic white, that's 2 7/8 by 1 5/8. So for the gift card holder, I made it so that this piece glued right in and you couldn't pull it in and out. But with this, the pocket is quite a bit deeper. And so if I glued this in, you wouldn't have very much room to write. So I chose not to glue this in for this particular project. But I'm still going to go ahead and make a little dip so that you can see there's an insertion point for the gift card. And so it's 8.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to find the 4 1/4 mark. And that will show me approximately where my circle will be able to punch and dip that in a little. And again, I don't know, about 1/2 inch in, but you can make your your little circle as shallow or as deep as you want. And then I'm going to glue this down on the edges, and I want to make sure I just get glue to the very edge so that I have room to slide that piece of basic white in and out. I think it is thick basic white that I've got there. You can see as I'm doing this that I'm grabbing clothespins to hold it shut while it dries. I use clothespins quite a lot, especially when I'm making 3D projects or things with pockets that need to set. So I always try to have some near my workspace. Okay, so while that is drying, I'm going to do some more stamping here. But I just realized I think I'm going to try stamping with the Moody Mauve, but I need to clean the stamps off here. So get the Pretty Peacock. Does your Stampin' Chamois look dirty like mine? Isn't that lovely? Oh well, that means it's been working really hard. I think it should be a point of pride if you have a really dirty Stampin' Chamois. All right, so I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas across the top. I'm wondering how odd this is going to look because this is going to be Moody Mauve inside, and then there's lots of the Pretty Peacock. Well, I'm going to try it. If I don't like it, so be it. And if you don't like it, well, you'll learn from my mistake. Okay. Merry Christmas. So that'll go on the inside, but I need to give it a minute more for the glue on the pocket to dry. And then on this piece, 2 7/8 by 1 5/8, I will stamp the words, love and joy come to you, and may it last the whole year through. And try and do this somewhat straight. And I'll glue those words onto the next size up, which is the 3 1/8 by 2 7/8. So that will get glued like this. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise out there. We have somebody stopping by to visit my son. Okay. There we go. So, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this Moody Mauve combination with the Pretty Peacock, but we'll give it a try. So I'm going to use 2 layers of dimensionals. I'll use a layer here. And then I'm also going to use a layer underneath the scalloped contour die. Did I say that right? Or is it contour scalloped die? I might have those words, the name mixed up there. Okay, so that will go there. It's kind of an interesting color combination, really. And okay, I'm using up these last little bits, so I'm just being lazy. I'll just go like that and call it good. Now, this can tuck right in here. And again, I was making about 14 of these for my mom because she's got how many grandchildren and then some grandchildren with significant others. So I didn't go too crazy on the decorating. So I've got this 1-inch strip by 8.5, and that's just going to get glued across the middle. Sort of looks like a belly band, but it's more like a faux belly band. And let's see here, try and get it somewhat centered. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, yeah, about there. And then this will get glued. And again, I want to sort of go to the center, like 1, 2, 3. I'm counting the lines in 1, 2, 3, count, yeah, somewhere around there. And there we go. Now we've got a little pocket where you can write a message and you can leave cash or check. Do you still write checks? Not too many people do that anymore. And they will stand up. You can see how nicely that one stands. Where's the other one that I did? Here it is. They both stand. Even though the front is really only a single sheet of designer paper, I think when you put the extra layers on, it does give it some sturdiness. I'll just show you a couple of these that I made for my mom. I pulled out papers, like I was digging back. I was really, I really had to look for paper because I was running low on Christmas paper after making a whole bunch of these. And so here's some from a couple years ago, and has some fun pat paper in it. I can't remember the name of this paper, but I really loved it, and I had 1 pack. And so, yeah, here we go. It's a little bit more. And you can see there are the Christmas trees, and I saved the Christmas trees for the inside because there's a definite top and bottom to them. But this pattern doesn't matter. It's either way it can go. Same thing here with the diagonals. It's okay front and back. Well, and the polka dots are okay front and back either. So, but yeah, choices that way. Here's another one. Oh, yeah, I really liked this paper so much. Pink surprise. This one makes me think of Barbie with all the pink. Speaking of pink, here's one more. Love and joy come to you. And then this one's got the presents on the inside. And there's definitely an up and down because the bows of the presents are all hanging in one direction. So I made sure the directional part was on the inside. So there you go. Get using your paper. I'm going to be, like, next Christmas, I'm going to be buying all the paper and lots of it because these were fun to make. People can use them. They, like I said, they sold at my vendor fairs, and they're just really handy. So as a reminder, I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Stamp Ventures with Shauna, and I'm here in Canada. If there's any way I can help you with your paper crafting journey, please be in touch. Bye for now.